All right. Hello and welcome back. So today we're going to continue where we left off last night, and we were on the view model base. We just to go over kind of what we did last night. We implemented these services, just the navigation service and the dialogue service. We added kind of our own, couple things to each one. Then we started on view model base, and it got kind of late, so called it a break for there, and now we'll continue on for here. So I'll open the GitHub, and if you remember, we can go into source, and then we'll go into mobile, and we'll go into eShopOnContainers and core. In here we have view models, and then view model or base, and view model base. And so what they have here, they have their two services that we needed to create so that we can implement view model base. One thing we missed is abstract, making view model base an abstract class so that we can't instantiate an actual object of view model base. We're going to want to, create children of this class. So, and we'll get to that pretty soon. Then we did the is busy flag. We're going to use this kind of a lot when we make network calls. But then we got into the constructor. And so in the constructor, all we're going to do is implement these, the dialog service, navigation service, and then the settings service, which we're going to kind of create, but we're going to add our own things to it. We don't really need, but we're going to keep their structure with the settings service because I really like how they do app settings and saving things to persistent storage, but we don't need a lot of these endpoints and things that they have right now. And then they have the virtual initialize async, and this is what you can override on all children of this class. And then the navigation service will, when it creates the page, it'll call initialize async, and we can go from there. So let's get started. So on view model base, we need to instantiate our dialog service and our navigation service. So we can say dialog service equals, and then we haven't made our view model locator yet. I guess we're going to need to do that actually, because view model locator, if you remember, has tiny IOC, and that's the inversion of control. It's got the container that we'll register our services and our view models to, and then we'll use the view model locator to retrieve those. So I guess we can get started on view model locator, then we'll come back to view model base. So let's get rid of this for now. We'll come back to it pretty quickly. And then over in our project structure, we'll go into view models, view model base, not view model base, in the base directory, and we'll say add class, and we'll call it view model locator. Okay. And so our view model locator is kind of going to contain everything we need. I think we kind of went over it last night as well, how it kind of, in our navigation controller, we would take a view model that implements view model base, and then we would find the page for that. What this is going to do is pretty much the exact opposite. So that'll happen in here as well. So we need to say public static class because it's going to have an attached property that you can put on content pages. And then we need our reference to the tiny IOC container. So private static tiny IOC container. And then we'll just call this container. Okay, so now we can make our attached property. So public static read-only bindable property, and we're going to need to press Alt. Whoa, I'm so sorry. Property. Alt Enter, and we can import Xamarin Forms. And then they have this called auto wire view model property. And then it's equals bindable property dot create, and give it the name. So this is just auto wire view model. The next one is the return type, and this will be Boolean. The next one is the calling type or declaring type. So type of, and it's this, view model locator. It'll default bool, and that just pretty much is false. You could say false here as well. And then they have the onProperty change, which froze. Okay. And then the property change will be the, I'm going to scroll over here. Let's take a look. I think they call it like on, let's see, on AutoWire view model changed. Sounds good. So on AutoWire view model changed. Okay, then we need to implement that, so we can just Alt Enter and it'll do it for us. Okay, we'll leave that for now. So we need to, there's a couple ways you can do this. They make actual getters and setters. We're going to do it their way. The other way is you can make your AutoWire view model property with its own getters and setters. Either way is fine. We're going to do what they did. So they have public static bool get AutoWire view model base. Okay, and so this method is going to take a bindable object, and that will, they call it bindable, call it whatever you'd like. And so what this is going to do is return, cast it as a bool. It'll be bindable dot get value, and it's our view model locator, since we're all static, AutoWire property. And so the setter, public static void set AutoWire view model. No. This isn't view model base. I'm so sorry. That'll get confusing later. We'll just leave it like that. Get AutoWire view model. This will be set AutoWire view model. Also, we'll take a bindable object. We'll call it bindable. And it'll also take a bool value. Okay, and so what this will do is bindable.setValue, and this will be the view model locator dot AutoWire view model property, and we will give it value. Okay, so one other way we can do this, this is with the methods for getters and setters. We can also use a property for getters and setters. And so what that property would look like, we're going to delete this, but just to show you, we could say public static, and then this would be a bool, and we're going to call it exactly what this says. And then in here we'd have our getters and setters. So get would say, return bool, and it basically just this. And then set would do this. And so these two methods would do the same thing as these do. Let's just copy them over so you can see kind of what it looks like when it's fully filled out. And then set would do the same thing. Oh, except we don't have bindable. Okay, so I suppose since it's, because we can't do, we can do this view model locator dot get value, right? Nope. Okay, I guess that's why they use the properties. We're going to do this a lot with our custom views and such, and it's not going to be on static classes, and then I can show you there. Okay, so we'll let that go. We'll leave it the way they have it. But they also have a use mock service. This is good for, we're gonna implement it. Right now we're not going to have our mock services, but once we put those in, that our unit tests will use mock services. So we'll leave that here. Public static bool use mock services, and that'll just have get and set. Okay, and then we have our constructor static view model locator, and that is essentially a private constructor. And then we'll instantiate our container equals new tiny IOC container. And then under that, so they have comments here. We're going to keep the comments. We're not going to put the things that are under the comments because we're actually going to use our own things. But the comments are great to tell you where to put things. So for view models, what it does is by default, tiny IOC will register concrete classes as multi-instance. Register concrete classes as multi-instance. And what that means is every time once we say navigation service dot navigate to async and give it a view model, it's going to find that view model, not register, but instantiate the page from it, initialize the view model. Those will all be they will all be their own instance. So you can continue to stack pages of the same type on top if you needed to. So we kind of want to keep this, so that's by default. We want to keep that. The other one they have is services. Services behave a little bit differently. So as you can see in the comment, it says by default, TinyIOC will register interface registrations as singletons. So the benefit here is all services, you expect each service to do the same thing every time you call it. And so it's beneficial to have these services registered as singletons, so you're not continually creating multiple instances of these services when we just expect to receive the same things anyway every time we invoke each service. So by default, TinyIOC will register interface registrations, awesome phrasing, as singletons. Okay, and that's great. So we do have a couple services that we need to register. So let's go ahead and register those. So we have container.register, and this will be your interface and then what you are registering as the implementation for that interface. And so by default, we're going to register the actual services. And then once we get mock services, we'll register those instead. So we have register, we're going to do iNavigation service. And we can, Alt enter to bring in the namespace, and then we'll take the actual navigation service. And then below that, or above that actually, I like to try to keep them in alphabetical order, because once we have a lot of services, it's kind of hard to find unless you Control F or whatever. But I definitely prefer to keep them in alphabetical order. So container.register, and this will be iDialog service, and that's the interface. Alt enter to bring in the namespace, comma, and then the actual implementation, dialog service. So we have our two services registered. So we can scroll down a little. So you have this update dependencies method. And so what that does is, if you were to set use mock services true, then you could call update dependencies, and it would re-register services, but with the mock services for the implementation of the interface. So we are going to implement that method. So this will be a public static void, and it'll say update dependencies. And then bool is use mocks or use mock services or whatever you'd like. Okay, so then in here, so this is just, we can keep their comment. Comments are great. Change the injected services, dependencies, I suppose. I'm going to say as required, because so if use mocks do something, so register mock services, else, so we have register your actual services. And then at the bottom, you can just say, that static variable we set up there, use mock services equals use mocks. Use mocks. Okay, and so in here, we don't really have any mock services yet, so we're not going to do anything in here yet, but we do have our actual services, so it's good to just throw those in here now. So container dot idea. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, instead of registering them all here and then registering them all again here, we're going to put these down here, and we will update dependencies with false. And so now we don't have to register them here and there, or keep type every time we add a service, type it here and then add it down here. We don't have to keep doing that. One of the reasons they didn't do it is because some services don't change between mock and actual services. Sorry, I'm just kind of checking out what they're doing to make sure it's all on the same page. And so maybe for services that do not need to change, we will keep up here. So we'll add that as a comment. So up here we will do the services. So here we'll do a comment. So register services that do not depend on a mock service counterpart. Okay, and then place any service registrations that have a mock counterpart in the update dependencies method. Perfect. So we don't need to register anything here yet either, and this will be for our actual network call services. So we can leave this the way it is. We'll peek down a little bit, and so we have register singleton, so we can implement that. So that'll be a public static void register singleton, and that'll take a T interface. And a T. Oh, this is going to ensure that your implementation implements your interface. So that's pretty good actually. So this will be where T interface implements class, where T implements class and T interface. Okay, and that just ensures that whatever we're registering as a singleton is a service that implements the interface. Okay, and so what this will do is just taking a quick peek at their code. They're not registering the initial. I don't know if we ever use this. I remember implementing it before, but I don't ever remember actually using it. I guess we'll see when we implement the rest of the structure here. But let's just do it for now. So container dot register, and then that'll be our T interface, and T dot as singleton, and that'll register it as a singleton. Then we have public static, and resolve we use all the time. So public static, and resolve is amazing, and I'll explain it here in a moment. But resolve, and it'll take a T templated class where T extends class, and this will return container.resolve T. Okay, so what this does, pretty much all it does is calls our inversion of control to resolve this. But every time we want to get an instance of our service that's registered as a singleton, so they say up here, every time we want to get one, we can call viewModelLocator.resolve, give it the interface, and it'll give us whichever one we register, whatever implementation we registered for the interface. So this is outstanding. We'll use it all the time. Okay, and then finally we have our onAutoWire viewModel changed, and it takes a bindable old value, new value. So let's get rid of this throw new not implemented exception, and we will just implement it the way they do here. Again, if you changed your views directory to pages, it'll change a little bit. But if you kept it as views and you still have this folder called view models, then this will be the exact same as they have. So what we have for ours is var view equals bindable as element. Okay, and then if view does not or is null, then return. Whoops. If view is null, return. Okay, and then under that we can say var view type equals view.getType. We can say var view name equals view type dot full name dot replace, and this is where they're going to replace dot views with dot view models. We need to replace dot pages with dot view models. Dot view models. Okay, and so that'll give us, I'm trying to think, I don't think it gives us the actual view name actually, because we have to also replace view model. So let's do another replace. Oh, no. We have to add view model to the end of the page name. So actually this is fine. So what this is going to do is, let's say we, it has this page, like the page is, like, for example, Xam tutorial is what we have the project called, dot pages dot home page, for example, and it needs to find the view model. What it's going to do is Xam tutorial dot replace pages with view models, and then we also need to add view model. So home page view model, we need to add that at the end. So we're already replacing pages with view models, so that part's good. Then we need to get the assembly name, so var view assembly name equals view type dot get type dot assembly, whoops, and then that'll be the full name we need. And then we can get our view model name, so var view model name equals string dot format is fine, culture info alt enter, so we can bring in globalization, dot invariant culture, and then we can do our format. So it'll be, so we have the page, which is fine, the whole thing, and we need to add view model at the end. So not just model, because their implementation, they'll already have like home view, and they're just adding model to the end. We have home page, and we're adding the entire word view model to the end. Okay, and then in here we still have the one, which is going to be the assembly name. And so we can add these. So view name and view assembly name. So now we have the view model name. We have to make sure it's not going to be null once we try to get its type. So var view model type equals type.getType, and this will be view model name. And so if it's null, we can't do anything. So if view model type is equal to null, we will just return. Otherwise, we need to get the actual view model. So view model equals container.resolve, and this will be view model type. And then we can set the view that we have. We can set its binding context to this view model. Dunsky. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of these comments because they're not really helpful as far as being just in the code. They're just kind of to explain why, I have this little change. So we'll get rid of that. And so now we have view model locator complete. Okay, so from here, we need to go back to, let's open this up, our view model base. I think we're pretty much ready to implement view model base. We're almost there to where we can start working on an app. I know it's a lot of setup to start, but it's so worth it at the end because it's just going to save an incredible amount of time. So let's get into view model base. So we have this. We haven't really done anything past here. So we need to go into view model base, the constructor, and we need to just register these three things, not register them. I'm so sorry. We need to resolve them. And so let's get to it. We don't have iSetting service, but like I said, we're going to kind of do it ourselves. So we're going to create the interface, we're going to create the implementation, but they're going to be empty at first. So let's do dialog service, navigation service, and setting service. And this will go into the view model base. So we already have our class variables for dialog service and navigation service. So dialog service equals view model locator dot resolve, and we can just give it the interface dialog service. So that'll, because we registered it in view model locator, so that'll, the resolve method will just give us back our implementation. And then we have our same thing for navigation service equals view model locator dot resolve, and that'll be iNavigation service. And then our settings service is a little bit different. So they're actually, let's pull it back up. They are just doing it and it's staying in this scope because of their global settings. And so we don't really need to retain a copy of this right now. It might be beneficial moving forward to add another protected property up here for the settings service, because we do use it a lot, but for now we're just going to leave it as is. But then we need to make this public virtual task initialize async, and it'll be overridden by children. So let's go ahead and do that. It's already done. Forgot we did that. Okay, so we're good with view model base for now. Eventually we will come back and add the settings service, I think. But for now, I think we're good. Okay, so we have pretty much everything we need to get started. So let's take a look at why we just did what we did and how powerful it is. So let's make a home page. We are almost done. We still need to go into app.xaml.cs and we need to use our navigation service. So let's take a quick peek. We'll go to .core and we'll go to app.xaml.cs and we'll see there's a different action for UWP versus the rest of them. So since I think we did include UWP actually, we did. So we're gonna do what they did. Okay, so 1 second. I have it up on my other screen as well, so I'm just gonna open that over here, and then we can take a peek at what they did while we do it. So in the constructor for app, we can get rid of main page equals because we're going to let the initialize method of our navigation service take care of that. We kind of did it here. Not there is the initialize. Oh, we still have to implement this. Yep, let's do it. Okay, so back in navigation service, we started this navigate to async taking a page, but I guess we didn't finish implementing it. Let's make sure it's in our interface. It is. Okay, let's implement it real quick. So we can't use internal navigate to async because that's going to expect a view model for a type and a parameter. You know, I think let's go to create page. Let's take a look at it real quick. It's freezing. Okay. And so get page type for view model. I already know it's not going to work. So we're not going to do that, but we're going to get really simple and we need to see if app.current.main page is a custom navigation page nav page. And if it is, we're just going to push async. So very, very simple. So if app.current.main page is a custom navigation page nav page, and then we'll say just return nav page.push async, and it will be the page. And then otherwise, we're just not going to do anything. Return task.fromResult, and that'll just be false is fine. Okay, and so that's how we're going to implement that. That just gives us another option when we're navigating too. I don't know if we'll ever use this because we really want to stick to the MVVM pattern that they have with loose coupling, and so we will do a lot of our stuff in the navigation. The view model. So let's see, we can go back to app.xaml.cs. I still have it open on my side screen. And so what they want to do is init app, which we'll have to implement. And then, so if device.runtime platform is equal to device.uwp, then this is where we're going to init navigation, which we also have to implement navigation. Okay, and otherwise it's not going to init navigation yet. Okay, so right under app, the constructor, we can say private void init app, and we'll implement that first. And so it's going to grab itself a reference to settings service. So I guess that's why we didn't do that in the view model locator. So iSettings service, we don't even have one yet. It's a shame. Let's go ahead and add that because we need to anyway. So under services, we have the settings folder. Right click, add class. You can click interface. If you don't, that's okay. It's easy to change. And we'll change this to iSettings service. Okay, so this will be a public interface, iSettings service, and we're going to leave it blank, remember? And then we also need to make the implementation for it. So class, and this will be settings service. Make this class public as well, and then implement that iSettings service interface. And so since there are no methods in the interface, there's not going to be any problem here. And then we are going to go into the view model locator, and we are going to register that service. So this one will end up having a mock service. So let's register it down in the update dependencies. And so we can say container.register. This will be iSettings service, we can press Alt-Enter, which will let us import that namespace, and then we can register the implementation. And then up here in the use mock services, we don't really have a settings mock, but we really should have one. Well, we'll add it because we're not really getting into the unit tests probably for a while. So let's leave it out as it is. So we'll Control S or Control Shift Save to save everything. We can close View Model Locator. We can, if you want to clean up some of these tabs, we can. So we can close Custom Navigation Page because we'll never need that again. Navigation Service we're pretty much done with. View Model Base we are definitely done with. The interface for our navigation service we're done with. Extended Bindable Object we are done with. And then the main page, this is going to get deleted. So we can get rid of that. So all we have left is app.xaml.cs. And so what Init Navigation is going to do, we are going to need to bring back iSettings service, and I'll show you why in a second. So we need to create a class property for the iSettings service. And we'll just call it settings service. We'll press Alt-Enter to bring in the namespace. And then we will create it here or instantiate it here. So equals view model locator dot register, not comma register, dot register, nope, resolve. And we want the iSettings service. So whichever implementation we registered for this interface is what we want to retrieve. And then we want to see if we have this setting service set to use mocks or not. So if it's not set to that, so if setting service.use mocks, which doesn't exist, so we'll add it. So if that is false, then we're going to update dependencies, which is interesting because it's already false. So we'll have to look at their implementation of settings service to see if they default it to true. So view model locator base.locator dot update dependencies, and this will be setting service dot use mocks. And we'll press Alt Enter, which will add use mocks. It'll add use mocks to the setting service, and that's what we want. So use mocks should lose its error, and there is that. What we probably should do is just call this either way, actually. So let's get rid of the if and just call it either way, and that's going to, let's see. So if we keep it false, let's go ahead and look at what their implementation of it is for the settings service. Because if it's already false, then we probably don't need to do that because init app happens when the app opens. So let's see what they did. So services, and then we'll go to settings and the actual implementation, and we'll see what they have for use mocks. And so the default is true. Interesting. So ours is not going to be that. Ours is going to be default is false. And if it's true, then we'll update. And so let's do that. So we'll bring our if statement back. So if settings service dot use mocks. So if that's true, then we'll go ahead and update them. But we expect it to be false for now. And I think the reason they do true by default is so they can just program their app with kind of expected responses of a real service. They can put those responses in the mock service and just continue with building. That sounds like actually a very great way to go. But we're gonna go with this for now. If we can't really find any services to make REST calls to, then that's what we will do. We'll switch to mocks and just do it that way. But I think we'll be fine. So we also need to implement, let me go back to, oh no, that was right. I needed to be there. So I'm on app.xaml. We need to make our init navigation now, and it should be awaitable, I suppose. That's what they have here, task, so you could await it. And that's init navigation. We'll need to import threading.tasks, and then var navigation service. Oh, they're just resolving it and then returning its initialize async. So that's pretty good. So var nav service, or call it whatever you'd like, equals viewModels.base.locator.resolve, and that'll be our iNavigation service. Whoa. Navigation service. Alt enter to bring in the namespace, and then we can just return the nav service dot initialize async. Okay, and that's fine. So on UWP, as soon as we're done initializing the app, then we will initialize navigation, and on everything else, we're going to do it after on start, I believe. Yep. So there's on start. Handle when your app starts. That's pretty self-explanatory with on start. So we can leave that. They're calling a base dot on start. That's fine with me. But then they go with, if it's not UWP, then go ahead and init. So that's what we'll do. So if device.runtimeplatform does not equal device.uwp, then we'll go ahead and, oh, they have this asynchronous because we have an await in there. So override async void, which is fine. And that'll be await, and we will await the init navigation. Okay, so after that, they have a couple more things which we don't need, because they have like get GPS location if the setting service allows GPS location, and only do that if the setting service doesn't use fake location. We're not doing that. And then setting service.use does not use mocks is false, and their access token is not null or empty, then go ahead and send that current location. We're not doing any of that. So we're going to then call base.onResume, and we can delete the onResume method because we don't need it. Okay, then they have an onSleep. We're not doing anything there. Then they have the methods for get GPS location and send current location. We're not doing either of those. So our app.xaml is fine. So we will need to open the navigation implementation, navigation service. Because of that init method, we do need to go somewhere. Oh, I have a misspelling of valid. So we do need to go somewhere. Basically what we, kind of like we covered yesterday, if you have a login page, then go ahead and check the access token. If it's not valid, go to the login page. If it is valid, go to the home page. We don't have that right now. So we need to just go to the home page, or whatever we're going to call it. We are going to call it home. And so when you make a page, you also need to make a view model. So every time you do that, we're going to do that. You can reuse view models. That's like one of the great things about this. But for the most part, we'll just keep the view in the view model, and all of our, functionality will sit in the view model. So let's add a view model. We'll call this home page view model. If you're doing it the way they did it, it would just be home view model. So I do home page view model. Once it creates, we need to make it public, and we need to implement base.viewModelBase. So once we implement viewModelBase, we can make our constructor home page view model, and we can override that init async, and that's fine for now. So we have our constructor initialize async, and then under pages, we're going to add new item, and this will be a content page, and we'll call this home page. So you'll notice home page is the actual view, and then all we do is add view model to that name, home page, and that's how AutoWire is going to work for us. So to use the power of what we just set up, we have that attached property that we can add here. So we'll say we have to declare a new namespace. We'll call it base. Then we say CLR namespace, put a colon, and then you can do the project name. So XAM tutorial dot, and then view models dot base. And now what we can do is that attached property that we made. So base view model locator, you can just press tab again, AutoWire, and just set it to true. Bam, all that magic happens for you. So you don't have to keep doing it every time you make a new page. You only have to add these two lines, and the view models will be discovered, they'll be instantiated, they'll be set as the binding context, and then you can just start using them. So here we are. So we have our home page. All it has right now is a welcome to Xamarin Forms. Totally fine. The view model for the home page doesn't do anything yet, but we will start on it right away. But we're just going to test this. And our navigation service, we have two more things to do. One, we need to register our view model to the view model locator. So let's go ahead and do that now. And then we'll need to actually navigate to that home page when navigation is initialized. So in view models, go to the base subdirectory and go to view model locator. Find that comment we had for view models. And right under there, we're just going to say container.register, and we'll just give it its view model name. So home page view model. Done. Now that we've registered the view model, we can go back to navigation service, and we could say return navigation service. This is navigation service, so just navigate to async, give it the view model name, so home page view model. And we're not going to give it up any like navigation parameter, so we just leave that null. Alt enter to bring in the namespace, and we can get rid of this return task.from result. We don't need that anymore. And so what this will do is once you call initialize async, you will get this. I think the problem is we're not actually going to have a custom navigation page, so we might need to set that here. So let's do that. So initialize async is not going to call this method. What it's going to do is app.current.mainPage equals new custom navigation page. And in here we'll say probably our new home page, but let's just take a look at what they did. Because somewhere they have to say, hey, if we don't have a navigation page, go ahead and set one. So let's take a look at what they did. They have services, navigation service, and navigation service implementation. And let's just take a look at here. Let me do it on the one we could all see. Whoops. Okay, and so let's do it on the one we can all see. Let's go back up to the navigation service. And let's see where they set. So initialize async, they really are just navigate to async. So in here, they must be setting, if it doesn't exist, then go ahead and add it. So navigate to async with that view model, which is really what we want to do. So let's go check out internal navigate to async. And so in internal navigate to async, so if page is login view, interesting. Then they're saying application.current.mainPage is this new custom navigation page. Otherwise, do some other stuff. And then they're setting that binding. If the binding context is a view model base, then go ahead and initialize async. So we're going to stick with that. So let's Control Z a few times to get back to return. Oops, we can get rid of that. Return navigate to async homepage view model. And then we'll go into our internal navigate to async, and we'll do kind of what they did. So let's check to see if this page, oh, perfect. I guess it kind of already does that. Let's go back to look at what they did. Did they do that as well? So if it's that, otherwise, boom. I guess that almost seems like they're doing it twice, but that's okay. Just to be safe, we will say if our page, should we do that, or should we say if main page is not set, or if it's null? Let's just do this for now. So if page is home page, we don't need to declare the variable for home page because we still have page, and that's just fine. So we can just say app.current.mainPage equals new custom navigation page, and that's going to set this. So this will need to be an else then, else if, and we can get rid of that extra line. So this will do that. So this will work. So every time we navigate to homepage, it's kind of going to reset our navigation. That's probably why they do it, because that sounds great, especially when you have a login. You don't want the Android users to press the back arrow, like we kick them to the login screen or they log out. They press the back arrow and just goes back to the last screen. We don't want that. So this is actually, I see why they did it. It's pretty good. So then it'll fall in here and it'll do that. If it's any other page and we have a navigation page, it'll do this. Otherwise, it'll reset the navigation with that new page. All that looks good to me. Then if page.bindingContext is a view model base, put it into this variable called VM and then initialize it. Love it. All right, we're good. Navigation service is done. And now we could run this and we should see welcome to Xamarin Forms. So let's give it a run. If you guys don't have the Android emulator set up and you need help with it, let me know. I can make a quick video on it. It takes a little while to run. That's the only bad news. I guess in the meantime, while it's trying to run, we can figure out what we're going to put in our app. So I was thinking maybe we would do kind of like call it like a running resume or something. Or like something to complement your resume of the things you can do in Xamarin. So like, the first page could be a menu and it could kind of showcase the different sections. So, we could make the menu look really nice. And then each one call it whatever we go over. So like if we want to do bindings or data bindings, that could be a menu item. And then another one can be custom views, or maybe custom views could go to another list of our custom views. The other option is to make an app that actually does something. If we make an app that actually does something, we could still incorporate a lot of this stuff, but then we got to figure out what we want. The benefit of that is, you get like real world experience. I don't know. I'll think about it. If you guys have any preference, you can comment, but I doubt anyone will comment before I make a decision, but by all means. And if I go down one way and people start watching and they really want to do something else, I'll definitely change my course. But so that's fine. That sounds good. I'll just do that for now. I do need to get the project into GitHub, because one thing I was thinking of maybe doing from this is, instead of making it so specific to ours, like return login view model or main view model, these setting services having these different things, we could, even make new implementations of these. And that way, when we want to make new projects, we can just take the file that we made here, put it in the new project and be done, instead of having to do this 1 hour setup every time. But this 1 hour setup every time, it takes 1 hour of your time to do, and it saves lots of hours later. And the more you type this out, the more you learn and the better you get with it. So there's my internal struggle there. Okay. Yep. Use mocks not implemented. No problem. So we need to press Alt-Enter, implement interface, and instead of this, we will just default it to, we still need to implement this actually, the actual interface. They have some good stuff in here. But for now, we're going to say false. That's our default, and there's no other way to set it, so that one's good. We'll press run again. Let's see if it finds any other errors. I wish it didn't take so long. It's okay. I can cut this stuff out of the video. And I mean, all we want to see is hello Xamarin Forms. I think it's hello world Xamarin Forms. No, welcome to Xamarin Forms. That's what we want to see. Then we can make the list and start populating it. That stuff won't take too much time. We'll like immediately be able to see the benefit of this structure, which is super exciting. So I can't wait to get started on that. It is good to run and check over your code more often than not, because if you get too far and you have errors through the things you've done, that's time consuming. The other thing is it's time consuming to keep running on an Android emulator, so I guess you got to find your happy medium. Okay, my emulator pulled up. Looks like it is trying to run. I wish it was a smidge faster. I do this on a Mac for work, and it goes into the iOS simulator much, much quicker. Even when you run this on an Android device, it takes, I don't know, it takes a lot of time for some reason. I even had the Android emulator open, hoping it would make it a little faster. Did not work. I should find like some background music to put in that's allowed to be played. I might make it a little bit better. Looks like something's happening. Nice. Visual Studio not responding. That's exactly what we want to see. Just kidding. We want to see an orange bar at the bottom. That's what we want to see. I think it's coming. There it is. And so if we didn't register something or typed things incorrectly, we shouldn't see anything. But okay, we don't see anything. I mean, something's probably missing. Oh, there it is. We see it. Okay, so it did work. We have that big blue bar at the top. Let's have a peek on why. Oh, it's because of the navigation structure. So we're using like a navigation stack, and that will put a bar up here. So that's okay. We can get rid of that. But all right, so our project runs. We have the appropriate structure. Now we can make our list here, and we will get rid of the navigation bar up top. If we provide a menu like a master detail, then we will put this bar back and put the menu here. Or we can make our own bar. Definitely love doing that. But for now, we're going to get rid of that bar. We're going to make a list, and we're going to do some data bindings to see how that works using the view controller and how it already is wired up, and we can just use it already. So let's have a look at that. So we'll press stop. We will go to homepage.xaml, and we don't really, well, first let's get rid of that navigation bar at the top. So this has navigation page dot has navigation bar, and we're going to set that to false, and that we'll just get rid of that. Then we can decide how we want this to look. It's normally pretty good to jot it down how you want it to look. We'll just start basic. So we'll keep the label. We don't want it to be vertically center, but we do want to keep it as horizontally center. And instead of welcome to Xamarin Forms, we will call it our Xamarin tutorial project. Let's make this font. We're going to get into styles because you don't want to keep plugging in a bunch of font size this and blah blah that when you can already from the beginning start building out your theme. So styles, real quick intro for anyone who's not familiar with them. We'll go into app.xaml. You can put these anywhere, but if you put it in the app.xaml resources, then you get to use it anywhere, so you don't have to keep declaring it. And so this will be supposed to be a comment. It ended up not being one. And so this will be our app theme. And so we'll start declaring a few things. So we want our, this is for labels and font sizes, etc. Well, we'll do labels because even if you want to change font sizes for an entry, we'll have to look at the structure real quick. I'm pretty sure you can't use the same style for a label and an entry. I'm just going to look real quick. You guys don't have to type any of this in. But so we want the Xamarin docs, and we'll just do a label. And we'll see what the hierarchy of how it is implemented. And its inheritance comes from view. Okay, and I'm certain will be the same as an entry. So let's find entry. And that's input view. Okay, so, all right, that's fine. No problem. So we'll put our labels here. We'll do like our colors here, and we'll keep views up top. So you know, if you have your entries, well, I'm sure we will, and we'll just keep adding there. But so our labels, we'll make a style. We need to give it a target type, and it'll be label. And this will be like our base style that all of the rest of our styles will kind of be based on, and then that you can really start seeing the power of it later. So our base style, we want like text color for sure. We need to give this a name, so X key, and we will call it our base label style. Okay, open this up, and in here you have setters. So setter, and you give it a property and a value, and so those properties will come from that target type that we have. So the property we want here is text color, and the value, let's open up some HTML color code picker thing. HTML color codes .info. Just use that, I suppose. I haven't used this one, so I'm not really sure if it's going to, it looks like it's going to do exactly what we need. So we want like a, not a black, but a really dark gray. So like 4F, 4F, 4F sounds great. This will be our base text color. Whoops. So percent 4F, 4F, 4F. It's our base text color. Okay, then we want like a base font size, setter property font size, and our value will be, let's call it like 16. That's fine. What are some other things with labels that we want? Text color and font size. If you're going to set a font family, you would do that here. We're not. We'll leave it at what it is. Okay. And so we're not going to do entries. Ooh, colors. See, we should be doing that. Oh, what happened? It's frozen. Unfreeze. Time in. Okay. Colors. So that percent 4F, 4F, or I'm sorry. Not percent. Hash 4F, 4F, 4F. We want to put in like as a color property. So this will be, I think, what do you call it? A color. And it'll be X key is, that's like that really dark gray. So we'll call it dark gray. And it's, what do you call it? I don't know. Let's give it a look. So Xamarin Forms, app.resources, color, easy app theming, nice. And so we just want to see how they do that real quick. So they would put, oh, they didn't. Oh, just kidding. I think I already know what to do. We don't do that. I mean, we do open it up, but then we just put it in here, I'm pretty sure. 4F, 4F, 4F. And then now here we can use our static resource. And this will be that dark gray. And I'm pretty sure that'll work. I wonder if we should do, let's see, Control KD will move that back. I wonder if we should do like different font sizes, you know, as a resource or not. I think for now we won't. But so now we can use this. So if we go into homepage, we can give this a style. So style, static resource, and we have it, base style right there. And so that'll make it that dark color. It'll make it, you know, 16-point font, and that's great. So there's our project. Let's move this up one because I think it'll be okay if we do. No, I don't like that. Anyway, so now we need a list. So we'll make a list view. And it needs like an item source, not selected. Items source has 2 S's. equals, and we can say binding, and let's call it whatever we'd like. We'll call it our menu items. Is fine. It'll need a data template. Wow, I don't know how I did all that. All right, so we'll need a data template, listview.item template. And man, and that'll be a data template. And in here we'll have a view cell, or it just can be a text cell for now. But we're going to end up making it look kind of nice, so we'll leave it as a view cell. A view cell will take that single view container and put anything you want in there, but our container will be a stack layout. And in here for now, we're going to put just a label. We're going to end up making it look nicer and do some other things with it, maybe add an icon or some description text or anything. I don't know yet, but for now we're going to do a label. If we were to just do a label, then we could do a text cell and get the same thing. But we're going to do a label, and it's binding. Text binding will be each menu item will be set as the binding context. So binding and menu items, if it's just a list of strings, we would do like a dot. And if it is an object that has properties, we would use the property we want to bind to. So if we are going to end up customizing this a lot, we're not going to make it a list of strings. We're going to make it a list of menu item objects. So this will be list binding dot, we'll just call it title is fine. And those don't have a style, and they should. So I don't really want it to be base label style. We'll leave it for now. We'll come back when we decide how we want it to look. And so that'll take care of that. We're not done yet because we have to make the menu item object, and then we also need to make the list of menu items. So first things first, we'll go into models, right click, add class, and this will be menu item. So make that public, and we know at least right now we have a name or a title, so prop string title. At the very least, we know we have a title because we're using it in homepage right here. Okay, so in homepage view model, we can say public list, and this will be your menu items. It'll be a list of your menu items. So Alt Enter to bring that in. Nope. There's already a menu item in Xamarin Forms, so we should rename this. Wait, time out. What if their menu items have like everything we need? Menu item, base menu item, menu item, view controller. Nope, just controller. Backing store for the accelerator, attached property, text property, command, man, icon property. Let's just use this. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. We're just going to use that. So let's delete the menu item we just created. Perfect. I mean, if they already have a menu item with the icon and the text, what do we need? Okay, so public list menu item, and we'll call it what we want. We called it menu items here, and so we need to keep that same name. Menu items are right there, so we'll call it menu items. And then we need getters and setters. This is going to return, you can do underscore menu items with lowercase m. And then when you press Alt Enter, it'll create that variable for us. And then set menu items equals value, and we'll do our raise property change that we inherit from the parent, if we spell it right. And then we can do name of menu items. Okay, and now every time you change this list, the actual list, not the items in the list, you would need an observable collection for that, but we're not going to be doing that, so it's a little bit heavier than we need, or more expensive than we need. But we have our menu items, so then when we initialize async, or even in the homepage view model constructor, either way is fine. And so here we'll do it in the constructor. Normally when you would be setting up the view, you could do it in initialize async. Either way is fine, but we can do it here. And so we'll say menu items equals new list, and we'll just add a couple menu items to start. So new menu item, and it's got this text property, and we will set it to, what's the first thing we'll do? I I really want to get into custom views. So maybe we will start with like custom views 1. No, just custom views, because that'll go to another page with like the different views we make. I love custom views. We're not going to give it an icon for now. We'll just do text, which means in the page we need to change title to text, but we'll do that. New menu item, and this text will be like, so custom views, really fun. We can get into renderers and a bunch of really cool things. Another one, well, we do need to do like network calls and API requests. So let's do that. API calls. And that's fine for now. So we'll just do those two. So these things also have like tap commands, which is pretty good. I mean, we can set an event to command behavior that will take the like item tapped event and register it. It'll call the command that we bind it to, and that'll come back to our view model. That's normally what we do. So I think that is what we're going to do. So menu item is probably a little more than we need, but we're going to keep it. So here we need to change this to text. So I went back to the page. I changed the labels text binding to the menu item text property. And so if we run this, we should just see a list with those two things. We should have our two different fonts. This is like this one has the default text font. The font size and the default text color. But this one should be maybe a little bigger, but it's going to be it's going to be like not all the way black. So let's just press run and just kind of see how this looks. We also got rid of that navigation bar, and so that should disappear as well. Let's take a look. Hopefully it goes a little bit faster this time. Oh, cool. That came all the way over here for some reason. Let's move that over. Okay, it should be starting up. We could do a splash page. It'll, the initial app initialization, it would kind of consume this big blank white screen, so probably we'll do a splash. Those you handle on each platform, like the iOS, you can do like a launch image. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Boom. That's not the list. So the list, we needed to make it expand the entire remainder of the view. So let's do that real quick. So in XAML, you can edit while it's running, but the C# you cannot. But item source is this menu items. Let's have a look at our view model real quick. We're making these new menu items. It is changing. That's getting called, and it's setting our two things with the text. So that should be fine. So I think all we need to do is set the horizontal options to fill and expand, which I believe is default, but vertical options like kind of wraps. So we need to say fill and expand again. So that should take up the entire view. Let's press this little restart button. Let's see what happens. We should see those two list items, and we should be able to click them and nothing will happen, but we should still be able to click them. Excellent. So now we got to find out what happened. Where is it? Right here. So I don't believe that their font sizes are going. I think the list is just item sources, menu items. Okay, let's just make it a list of strings for now, because I have a feeling that's kind of messing us up a little bit. So let's change all of these to string, string, string. Whoops. And then these will be, we can just delete them. And we can just put our two strings. One was custom views, and one was API calls. Okay. That's when it's initialized. I mean, instantiated. Should be fine. Menu items. Raise property change, name of menu items. Yeah, let's do it again. We have this auto wire is true, so it should be creating this. So let's put a breakpoint there. It should hit. It didn't. Okay, it should hit the initialize async. Let's see if it did. Oh man, it didn't. Okay. That's super weird. So we need to go into our navigation service. So set services, navigation service. We don't care about really previous view model, but this navigate to internal navigate to async. If it is home page, set the main page as this, and then if the binding context is this view model base, which should be happening on create page. So let's just kind of take a look through it. So we'll refresh. Okay. And so we'll see what page is. Mine's a little bit frozen. Okay, it is a home page, so it's going to do this. And we should also see if the binding context is a view model base, which it is, right? We didn't make it abstract. I don't think... Yeah, we need to make view model base abstract real quick. So let's go to view models base, view model base. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but abstract. Okay, and then let's... So we already know this is hitting. That one's fine. But this should hit also. Binding context is null? Oh, so we need to step into here then and take a look at why that's happening. So let's do that. Maybe I forgot something. Oh, maybe it was all my like kind of changes that I made. Probably did something wrong. We'll step into it, take a look. Okay, so we will step into, and what it's going to do is do this page type. So this, it shouldn't be throwing that. We are going to want to see if that page gets created. We're also going to want to see if something happens here. Okay, so continue. Okay, it's getting into here. View type is home page, so that's working. So we're getting that. Then it's trying to create the instance as this. Oh, but we're never setting the binding context. Oh yeah, we need to set the binding context. All right, so I'm going to open. Oh no, I did not mean to close that. That's a shame. Big shame. It's okay. Anyway, man, something's going on. So navigation service will, when it does this create page, it's not setting the so our view model locator should be doing it. Create instance page type. Okay, so something's going on in the view model locator. So we haven't created the instance of the page yet. We haven't even gotten to here. So let's go set a breakpoint in view model locator. And when this goes to auto wire property change, we set that to true, right? We should have. We did. So when it becomes true, it's going to, let's see if view is null. It shouldn't be. View models, homepage view model, homepage, and that's in pages and view models. Pages and view models. So that should be okay. So the view name is view model type.fullname replace. All right, let's just continue and it'll get to here and we can take a look. So view is not null. It's pages.homepage, and we need to replace pages.pages. with view.viewModels. So that should be fine. Then we'll come down to here. We can just like step over, and we should see that this works, right? XamTutorial.viewModels.homepage, which is fine because on the next one, so go over and go over, view model name is viewModels.homepageViewModel, which seems right to me unless I misspelled something. Okay, and then we will step over and see if view model type is null. It is. XamTutorial.viewModels.homepageViewModel. Okay, let's take a look. It extends view model base. It is XamTutorial.viewModels homepage view model. That's all fine. Locator, I'm sure I registered it. Homepage view model is registered. Interesting. Let's see if there's anything in our output. I don't think so. So this type.getType view model name didn't work. View model name. View name is viewModels.homepageViewModel in the assembly, and that's giving us that homepage view model. That must be returned. That's interesting. Public class homepage view model. All right, let's take a look at view model locator on here. Ah, found it. I did get type instead of get type info.assembly.fullname. I think that's probably it. That might need to be imported. Get type info. I wonder if I did the same thing on navigation service. Let's take a look. No, I didn't. All right, we'll run it. I think that did it. Let me get rid of these breakpoints. That means we probably could have kept those menu item lists, but it's fine. We'll use the strings for now, and we'll change it as we get there. So let's break that, continue. And we'll continue through that. I put breakpoints way too many places. Okay, well, it worked. It called those. The acceleration is just struggling. But we have our two list items. We can see that just by auto wiring properly and not missing info in the get type, we want to get type info for the assembly. When we auto wire the view model, it will find the view model based on the view name or the page name. It'll set the view model, and we can just directly use the bindings without anything else. And then we can go into here. If it doesn't work, nothing breaks, which is great. Start changing things as you need. It'll register to the view. You can act on it, from there. So I guess this is where maybe we'll call it, because this one's getting long. We're at an hour and a half, and I spent, I don't know, 10 minutes trying to find that one typo. So that's a shame. But everything's working, and so we have our list. My emulator is running very slowly now, so I think that's why I'm going to call it. But we have our list, and then next time we can get into, we're going to make this a little better looking. So we'll do a little bit of stuff with our list here. All right, well, this home page, make it pretty, and then we will give both list items behavior by, if we look back on this eShopOnContainers, if we go back to the core project, we'll see that one of the subfolders here is behaviors, and one of those is event to command behavior. So we definitely, absolutely want to implement that, because then we can start attaching these behaviors to list items, and anything that has an event, it'll let us pass, the event name, and then we can tell it what command to invoke from there. Excellent. So that we'll do that. And what that'll do is let us intercept these taps. And then from there, we can push to another page. We can, start our list, or maybe we won't do a list. Maybe we'll make a custom view that'll be like a tiled view or something. I don't know. We'll look. And then API calls, we can just do the, the main ones like get, post, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's where I'll stop today. For anyone that watches this here in the future, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and definitely let me know if there's anything you'd like me to go over again, or if I went too fast, or if I missed something. Obviously didn't go too fast on finding that typo because it took forever, but anyway, all right, well, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next time.